Hello guys, welcome back. We'll continue looking at operators in PowerShell. In the last video we stopped at the array sub-expression operator. We'll continue with the call operator. This is a very interesting one. I'll quickly write up what I want to execute and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so what I've done here is I've assigned the getChildItem as text to a variable, and then I'm just running ampersand and that variable name. So if I do that, test, so it prints the output. So for example, I'm probably not going to use that, so I'll just put it there. So here, if I've got $a equals get date, right? So if I do $a now, it's already got the output there, so that's not what I want. I want to include that as text. So if I do $a now, it gives the command name. I could do ampersand $a, and that prints the output. That's what I want to do. But you might be wondering, so what's different? What's the use of this? Let's say you have a little script and you want to run that script, and you could run it simply like that with the name of the script, right? Let me just write a couple of commands here. I want to say write host hello mo, and I want to say write host today is $get date. Right, let's just run the script, make sure it works, and there it is. So it says hello mo, today is whatever date now is, right? Time now is okay. So that gives us the time now, which is what we want. So we've got a script called test.ps1. so if I want to run that, I could just go ampersand test.ps1 and it'll run that script, right? But you might be wondering, well, this is easier than the ampersand. So the ampersand is called the call operator. So you could call a script block. Well, you could call a script with its name, or you could call a script block as text. So these are the two use cases we saw. So, or you could store the text in a variable and use the ampersand and the variable name to run that script. So this is very handy if you want to run a bunch of commands without having to script a whole lot. Now there are some issues when there are spaces in the commands. So for example, let me just do $a again equals, I want to say get service name. I've got a space, so the name of the service is, let's say I'm running Chrome, right? Chrome. So if I do that and I print $a, it prints the command. And if I do ampersand $a, Chrome is not recognized. So it says the service, because it's got spaces in it, it doesn't work. So I could have some service that I know exists, like Spooler or Explorer, and it would still be the same. Because of the spaces, the command doesn't execute, it doesn't parse. So you can use another command called invoke expression. We already looked at that. If we haven't, I will cover it in the future lectures, but invoke expression is used to invoke commands like this from the command line, right? Or from a variable. It does similar stuff. So, well, if you're confused at this stage, because it took me a while to wrap my head around how all of this stuff worked and why it wouldn't work like this, but it would work with expression, ask me a question in the comments and I'm happy to answer it. So the next operator I want to look at is basically a background operator. So sometimes you want to be able to run a command, but you don't want to run it in the foreground. You don't want to hold up your terminal. You could do that using PowerShell very easily using the background operator. And guess what's the background operator? Again, it's ampersand. That's what you use. Well, it's used in a different place, so it's got the place is very significant. So let's quickly have a look at how to do that. If I do get process and I press enter, it throws all the output here. But I could do get process and I put an ampersand in the end. It doesn't like it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go name, and I'm going to look at what's starting with W, right? Right, there are a few. I'm going to use Probably W is not a good word. So I've got, okay, so I should have Chrome. So I've got Chrome, and then I put an ampersand in the end. Alright. Alright, this used to be able to work, so if the significance of, or the way it used to work, I'm not sure why it doesn't work. The Microsoft documentation still shows similar command. So you see how this is failing. So for some reason this isn't working anymore, and it says the ampersand operator is reserved for future use. Well, I can wrap it in double quotes, but it's not going to make any difference. Yeah, so it doesn't. So this, what it's supposed to do is similar to this. It should start a job, and it should put the job, so there's job 3, background job running, and then the command itself is that. So you could access the, well, I was going to talk about job, so I could do a receive job name, I think, job 3, and then it tells you what's the output. So it couldn't find PWSH because it doesn't exist. So if I receive job 2, same thing. If I receive job 1, it should work. Okay, so job 1 never had any output. So what it does, it runs the job in the background and gets you the output when you want to get the output. You can give the jobs better names than just job 1, job 2, job 3. And that's how you schedule stuff to happen in the background, so it doesn't hold up your terminal. You were able to do this with the ampersand operator, but for some reason that's not working. If I find anything more, I'll probably end up adding a comment or adding a line in the description. Now quickly, there are a few other commands. So I could use the cast operator, which basically explicitly mentions what the type of an object is going to be. So in this line here, this string is going to be casted as a date time, and if I print the $birthday variable, it's going to have a proper time, right? So that's a cast operator. You can use the comma operator to declare arrays. If I do $my array, right, and I can do .length, which is an array property, and it'll tell you it's 3. It's got 3 elements in it. You might have heard about the sourcing operator. So if you're from Unix, you could source a file or load the file into memory, or reload the user profile using the .profile, which works in Unix. It wouldn't work here. So it's similar. You could use a dot operator to load the file into the user's profile. So if I do $test, I don't know if it'll return an error, but let me try. Okay, so it ran that file. It executed that file. But if I had some background tasks, it'll execute them. It'll execute the background tasks. So that's the sourcing operator. You could also, well, you have a format operator, which I'm probably not going to cover. But there's lots of operators in PowerShell, and it's hard to cover all of them. One I want to cover is probably the pipe operator. So if we go back up, so I'm doing a get process, and for each of the entries I'm just going to do a get member. So you can see it's just a crazy output. It returns a process type, so it's returning the get member for the process type. So if you don't know a type of an object, so if you want to see for what member functions exist for get date, you could do this, and this role, it knows what object it is. That's how it knows, and then it just executes the second command, which is basically it takes the output of this, pipes it to, that's a pipe operator, pipes it down to get member function, right? So that's also pretty useful, and I do use it for diagnostic purposes when I'm trying to write a script. And as you build, you want to know what types of different objects are, the different commands return. So this is a good way of doing that. So with that, I'm going to conclude this video. There are other operators which I have not covered, but if you have a very specific operator that you're looking at and you want me to make a video, please leave a comment and I'll do my best to include that in this series. With that, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. It's great to see that you made it to the end of the video. If you'd like to download all my knowledge as a zip file, hit the subscribe button. To download it as a tarball, use like or share button.